I understand any hesitation you might be feeling, because I was right there with you. I felt it too. I avoided annuities like the plague for years, and that's because a lot of them are terrible, or at least nowhere near the best option for most people. They're known for paying high sales commissions, and I'm not interested in selling. The large financial planning firm where I started my career provided a lot of great solutions for many financial planning concerns, but their annuities were not very good. I sold very few of them in my first year when I was pretty much just putting my head down and doing whatever they told me to do. But I recommended them less and less as time went on, as I spent more and more time actually studying them, trying to understand precisely how they worked, and those didn't work very well. I ended up leaving that well-paying gig at what was a top 5 brokerage firm in order to set up my own thing with the goal of finding the absolute best solutions for my clients. If you want to know more about my history and how I got here, you can check out the video at the bottom of this page. But at that point, I looked into a few other annuity strategies with other firms and found more of the same. So I stopped considering them. My research into other areas of the financial world was bearing better fruits. I was finding better solutions for my clients. So I focused my energy there. I just began to assume that the only reason some of those other advisors might promote an annuity was due to the large commission potential. And if that was really their only appeal, I wasn't interested, obviously. And for more than 8 years on my own, I avoided annuities. I shared your hesitations, your concerns, your skepticism. That was me. I was right there with you. A couple of years ago, though, I had a prospective client that I had been working with. He was about to implement some of the market-based solutions that I had been explaining to him over the previous weeks. But just before getting his accounts set up, he decided to go a different route. Now, he'd become a friend at that point, so he willingly shared with me what he had decided to do instead. It was an annuity. I had to admit, from the illustration that he sent me, it looked impressive. Frankly, from what he was telling me, I understood why he was pursuing that solution instead. 0 downside risk with relatively high upside potential? Yeah, sign me up. Now, at that point, that was just one of several potential clients I was working with that month. I didn't think much of it. You win some, you lose some, right? I was sure. I just didn't fully understand this annuity contract he was considering, and that if I did spend some time digging into it, that I'd be able to find the holes. And that prospective client, however, had already made up his mind. He made it clear that that research wouldn't have been worth my time, and I was otherwise busy, so I just moved on. A few months after that, one of my trusted advisor friends had mentioned finding some incredible annuity options due to the way interest rates were changing and the adjustments annuity companies have been making. I nodded and pretty much just brushed him off. I put in my time down that rabbit hole years ago. I didn't have time to waste right now to show him what he was missing. Several months later, a similar client experience happened again. This was a different company, but the annuity looked similarly, surprisingly good. I was confused. I was frustrated, but again, also just busy. I was having success helping clients in other ways. And honestly, I think deep down, I wanted there to be some problem with these annuities. So I convinced myself that there must be, because, come on, I didn't want to be associated with hawking annuities. In hindsight, I think a lot of well-meaning financial professionals probably find themselves in that same boat I was in. Very shortly after that, it happened a third time. And this third one was the same company as the first. Now, that trusted advisor friend had been relatively persistent with his insistence that I dedicate some time to deep dive into some of these annuities he had found. So the next time he put that out there, I finally listened. He had a few specific strategies from a few different companies that he was going on about. They happened to match up with those 2 companies I mentioned earlier. I reluctantly dug in my heels, blocked off my calendar, and began a couple-month-long deep dive. Honestly, I set out to prove these things wrong, so that the next time I had a prospective client show me one, I would be able to tell them exactly why these annuities did not make sense for them. I studied the projections, I read through all the fine print, I grilled higher ups at these companies. I even had a lengthy conversation with one of their actuaries. one of the math super nerds. I appreciate you, Chris. I mean no offense. But the people who come up with all the behind the scenes calculations that go into spitting out all the numbers you see on an illustration. I wanted to make sure I was understanding everything correctly. Not just the sales language these companies put out there, but the mechanics behind what actually makes these things work the way that they do. Fast forward a couple of months, I had finally pieced it all together. I got my answers. And that's what I break down for you in this course. Sorry to interrupt, but what you're watching here is actually the introduction to a course I put together after walking through my findings with client after client, prospect after prospect. And each time I would explain the same things, and it would end up taking me at least an hour if I was the only one talking, a couple when you factor in questions. But every time, at the end of it all, they were grateful for this new information, this new understanding, and ready to move forward. And I realized that this information, this level of detail, guiding them through how these things actually work, guiding you through all that, is not readily available. That's why I had to go through such great lengths to find it and even understand it all myself. Meeting with the higher ups and actuaries, for example, that's kind of out of reach for most people. So I decided to put it all in a course for my clients, selfishly to save me some time and to give them something that they could come back to remember as weeks and months and years pass after that initial in-depth explanatory meeting where everything made sense, to remember how and why everything works. Since it now exists anyway, I realized I might as well make it available to everybody, currently, as of this recording, entirely free, to help you understand better what's going on behind the scenes so you can make an informed decision without any sales pressure from one side or the other about whether or not an annuity of some kind might make sense for you. Anyway, there's a link in the description where you can find out more. I would love to see you inside. Regardless, thanks for being here. Now back to the video. I still love and use the other solutions my team and I have found, but I really wish I had found these strategies sooner. Instead of just blindly pushing people away from all annuities for almost a decade. In short, there are some annuities out there these days that work, that can help protect a part of your portfolio from all sorts of risks out there while still providing you with the opportunity for relatively significant growth. I know, just saying that out loud. As I was saying in the beginning, I understand your skepticism because I was right there with you for years, despite it being right in front of my face on several occasions. In the annuity course specifically here, I walk you through all the negatives that you might hear out there. Some are valid and worth weighing, some are not, they're just misleading. I guide you through exactly how and why these annuities work, the many benefits. I even take you through some specific hypothetical examples, a few different strategies from a few different companies, so you can get an idea of whether or not something like this might make sense for you. Now, I hate sales. That's a big part of why I put this together in this way, so you can consume it at whatever pace makes sense for you. You can re-watch anything you didn't quite understand the first time around. You can share it with trusted friends and loved ones to discuss, to poke holes, to make sure you are not missing anything. You can get hopefully all your questions answered here before you even have to think about whether or not you want to maybe talk to somebody about whether or not one of these unique strategies might make sense for you and your unique situation. I know the information inside this course will help you have a better understanding of how and where certain annuity strategies might fit into your overarching financial plan. I look forward to helping you get all your questions answered and hope to see you inside. Regardless, I wish you all the best. Take care.